BLTV, bringing community events home to you.
Who says crafting is a dying art? I'm finding crafters all over the Middle Tennessee region who make unique items that'll be passed down for generations to come. Welcome to HandMade Tennessee. I'm Kimberly Vance with our special guest today, Doug Spencer of Short Mountain Guitars. Thank you so much for coming to see us today,
Thank you
Doug.
for having us.
You're welcome. I'll tell you what, you have absolutely brought us some beautiful stuff today. I had no idea that, I guess I should say that when you go look at guitars, you go to the store and you think, okay, well, they've pressed that one out, you know, they've assembly lined it, I guess, so to speak, and that's why you can get them for just about nothing. But you're paying for quality when you get a handmade guitar. Like I said, I had no idea that so much went into it. These are absolutely outstanding. How did you first get interested in making instruments?
You know, I've loved music my whole life and played guitar a lot when I was a kid. When I got older, I kind of hurt myself skiing and I couldn't play anymore. We moved down here to Tennessee and I had an opportunity to work with my brother-in-law for a man that was building instruments, and after that it was just,
wow,
just got into it and kept going. It was a sickness.
Oh, neat. And you make guitars,
Dobros, banjos, mandolins.
Oh, what beautiful instruments. And that's a shame that you don't get to play anymore. But I guess you pick just a little bit every now and then, just to make sure.
Plus, I get to hear other people play, and that's
how gratifying.
It is.
Oh, I bet that's wonderful.
It is.
Now, where do you actually get started? You get wood, I assume, and you actually carve everything out.
Yeah, you have to plane a lot of it down, and you have to make money at this and to make them the old school way, you have to do all this stuff by hand. You know, there's just a production setting would just cost you so much. It just wouldn't be it'd be impracticable for one person to do that. So, you know, you have to buy all your own stuff and try and get it at a good price and try and buy it from legitimate people that aren't robbing the forests. And, you know, so a lot of this is endangered species of woods, and you got to keep a pretty good eye on that stuff.
Wow, I never thought about that. I guess a lot of that is regulated. I know you said that you used various different woods for different items. What type of wood would this be?
For our necks, we use mahogany, or we can use maple, but it's mostly mahogany. It's been a traditional wood to use on a guitars for years. It's sturdy and it's, you know, plentiful, pretty plentiful, and it works great.
Beautiful wood too. You were talking earlier about some of the wood that you've carved for folks. Tell us a little bit about your history, so to speak. Some very famous Opry stars have played your instruments.
When I first started building instruments, it was back in 1996, and we worked for a guy that we built instruments for: Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, Roy Rogers Jr., Porter Wagner, Little Jimmy Dickens, Dolly Parton, Jimmy C. Newman, Jim Ed Brown.
The greats.
And a lot of them, we, you know, sent them off, and we really didn't get to ever see them again. But then when you go down to the Opry and you see them on stage, it's kind of, it's kind of gratifying.
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine seeing a famous country Opry artist up there playing something that you had handmade. That's got to just give you an unbelievable feeling.
It does. It does. It's a good feeling.
Oh, wow. Now, you also did some actually just for the Opry?
Yeah.
Are they just ones they have on hand?
Right. They're ones that they gave to, you know, they're the stars that are there all the time, little Jimmy Dickens, Jamette Brown, the regulars that come through. And they lost some of those in the flood last year, so we redid some of those for them, and, you know.
That's great that you were in a position to do some restorations for them. And I know you get some also that require some restoring. People come to you from time to time and get you to restore their items.
Yeah, a lot of them, you know, some people put them in behind the car and forget about it and back up or something like that will happen. So
oh, my goodness. Oh, that's a shame. I'll bet that just breaks your heart when you see something like that.
We've had them bring us necks in bags before and stuff.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I can certainly see that. Well, you're going to give us a little bit of a demonstration here in just a minute, but I wanted to look at a couple of more types of the wood if we could. What type of wood is this one?
For our tops, we'll use a spruce because it's a soft wood, and this happens to be Adirondack spruce from the Adirondack Mountains in New York. It's just a perfect tone wood for the top of a guitar, and you know, it's been used for 120-odd years now, and it's just some of the best wood that you could ever use for a top for sound-wise. And there's not much of it, so it's, you know, it's getting reforested, but it's still hard to find, so it's a little bit pricey. But
yeah, does it take? I guess it takes a long time.
Yeah, it's a slow growth wood, and they usually have to get pretty big to get, you know, a piece big enough to, right.
So how do you actually get your wood? You get it in big blocks?
You do.
And
you
start
get
from
it.
there.
I'm sorry. You get it in large blocks. Otherwise, you're just paying way too much for it, you know, individually. And that way you can pick what parts of it you want and what parts you don't want. So.
Oh, that's nice. And then what kind of wood is this? You were talking about having it imported.
Yeah, this is East Indian rosewood. It's real popular for guitars. They used to use Brazilian rosewood back in the day, but that's an endangered species that can't be exported anymore. And so now they use East Indian rosewood, which is a lot more plentiful. Wow. So, and plus they're reforesting it, so you're not really raping the forest. It's coming back. So.
That's good. You know, I just assumed that when I saw guitars, like I said, in the store or something, that they had just put a varnish or something to change the colors. I had no idea that they used so many different woods.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. This right here is absolutely amazing to me, how you can see the carve marks in that where you've been working on it.
You got to start with billet wood and make sure you get your grain right. And once you get a piece of wood that's got the right density to it, not too light, that's what I like using for necks. And then we just carve them out and then start adding things like fingerboards to them and putting a shape on them, and then we get them ready to go.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, of all the instruments that you make, do you have a favorite instrument that you enjoy making?
You know what? They're kind of like your kids when you make them. You know, you play with them for a while and you go, you know, this one's got a unique characteristic that some of the other ones don't, and you remember that. Oh. So when you build that guitar next time or down the line, you know, you can go back to that and draw from that experience that you've had and make those changes that you want to do.
Oh, that's neat. All right, Will, do you want to give us a little demonstration of how we start the process? Sure. I'll move some of these things out of the way. So you said that the very first step is to bend the wood.
We'll bend it. There's two ways that a lot of people will bend wood for you know, instruments, mandolins, guitars, dobros, it doesn't matter. Some people use what they call a wet bend system, where they'll just dump that stuff in trays of water, let it boil, and then they'll...
and then form? Does it form?
And form over a hot iron, which is just a round water pipe. And that's the old-fashioned way of doing it. And it's... a lot of people I know still do it that way. But for me, this way just is way more practical, and I'm a lot better at this way than I'm the other way.
Now, is a piece of machinery, what do you call this, a bender?
Yeah, this is a bender. You can buy them pre-made, but you know, back when I first started, you couldn't. So
Did you make this one?
I
Oh, you're
made
kidding.
this one, yeah.
Wow. So
It's-
you actually made your bender that makes your guitar.
And all your molds for your necks and everything, you pretty much got to buy because you can't. I mean, you got to make. You can't buy them. Nobody will make them, you know, for you.
Well, you sure have to know what you're doing, though, to get started. So you said this was the first step.
This
of
is the
making
very
the
first
guitar.
step, and with maple wood, it's a little bit not bad. We'll just put a little water on it.
And why are you doing that? So it'll be more
Yeah,
pliable?
it'll be a little bit more pliable, and it won't crack as easy. This stuff has been sanded down to 90,000, so it's relatively thin anyway. It could almost, you know, I could
So you
bend it
actually
like
get
that.
the wood and then you plane it down. You
Right.
carve it out and then plane it down to that. Wow. I can't imagine the patience that you must have.
Well, sometimes you break them, but we try not to now. You kind of get used to the wood that you're working with. But it's just you get used to doing all this stuff, and it comes second nature, and then you try not to even think about breaking it, because if you're working on a $600 set of sides or something and you break it, you got to start over. So.
Have you ever cried because you broke something?
Because they're not usually mine yet. If I had to replace it, I might cry, but
No huge attachment at that point, right?
no.
Wow, that is quite a process.
Yeah,
Just
and
getting that started.
it's a lot shorter of a process than the other method. The other method, you have to really take your time. And this, I have support, so everything's being supported. It's not usually a kind of a breaky type thing.
So you've just applied the pressure there to get it held in?
It's in the right spot. And all these forms I have, are different for each body style.
Oh, all these?
So I could
Okay.
put in any body style in this. And
Oh, and then kind of come out with what you want. That's amazing to me that you built this machine. And then, so what we're looking, the finished, the item
That's
will
what
the
you'd be
sides.
looking at,
And that's
is-
what you start with.
Right.
Oh, that is something else.
And I mean, maple bends fairly easy. That's why I'm going pretty quick with this. But some of your wood, you got to take a little bit more time, but usually not too much.
Well, this wood is so fragrant. It smells so good. You ever get tired of the smell of wood? You probably don't even smell it.
I don't even smell it anymore. I get tired of the smell of glue and finish. The finishes. Some of them are pretty rough on you.
They're so beautiful, though.
But you can see it's just bending. It bends pretty easy, and once it sits like that for a few hours, it's done.
It stays and it retains its shape. Wow.
We can just leave it like that.
All right. And so, say that'll take a couple of hours.
Oh yeah,
We'll get our
and then you
stuff
could take it out of there.
side like that. Wow.
And once you took it out of there, you would put it into a mold,
Okay.
and that would let it keep its shape.
All right. And is this your standard mold, or do you have several molds?
I have several molds, from D bodies, jumbos, triple O's, double O's. They're all guitar terms that mean certain body shapes.
And of course, that also gives you the different sounds. All right.
Exactly.
Cool. So that is beautiful. So this is one of the rosewood that you made. Oh, that is gorgeous. Now you've added, I see the little.
The liner and the little stays. That's just in case it falls. It'll take a pretty good whack without splitting all the way around.
Yeah. And then this right here, I guess, is just to keep it formed, to keep it in. All right. So after you get the side made, what do you do then?
Then, of course, have already made the top and the back. And we'll just put the top and the back on, glue them in, let it dry, and then we end up with
that.
this. At this point, you've got the neck block in it and the tail block. And it's pretty tough.
That's outstanding.
And it's ready to bind.
Oh, that is absolutely stunning.
And when we bind it, I like to use wood binding, and I'll bend it right back in the bender, just like I did the sides. and then we route the body out, and you end up with your trim.
So this right here is part of the trim?
Right around the edge, yeah.
Oh, and it goes inside there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is beautiful. Now, what is this right here? Just a decoration that you put on?
Well, it actually does. It is a decoration, but it also serves the purpose of keeping that back from opening up. You got two pieces of wood that are book matched, and then this piece goes over the top so it won't pull apart. So it's kind of a structure thing, too.
Oh, wow. Now, I've always wondered in your guitars, what is the, does this make a different sound because of
No, it's just for the guitar player that likes to play
like that?
up high.
Okay.
You know, some of them are just rounded shoulders.
Now, you were talking about some of the sound that you achieve and the different things that you have to do. Now, this I've found absolutely amazing as well. You were talking about the different pieces that you put on that make the different sound. That's how you get your sounds.
Right. When you brace a guitar, it has a lot to do with the kind of wood you made the top with, because you can use Adirondack spruce or Sitka spruce or Western red cedar. And then when you put these braces on, a lot of places, they just put them on, they're just solid pieces of wood. Or a CNC machine will carve them out and they'll just stick them on. The good thing about doing a handmade instrument is I know what this width of this grain is going to sound like with the grain of the wood that I put on it for braces.
The width of the grain, meaning the...
The width of the top. And it has a lot to do with how I carve these braces out to get the tones I want.
So I guess with years of experience, you know the different
And they're
tones.
tap tuned. You can almost tap it and tell that it's got, you know, the right sound. I get used to hearing that, and I can...
And you know what sound's going to be what. Wow. So you put the amount of things according to that. Oh, that is absolutely amazing. And does this piece right here also serve that purpose, or is that just
No,
kind of-
that's just because the bridge is on the other side. And this wood is so soft, if you didn't have something underneath there, it would just, when you tighten the strings, it would literally pull the bridge off the top of the guitar.
All right, that makes sense.
But other than that, it's just
Each one is signed?
always.
Ooh, that's worth a lot right there.
Yeah,
That's
maybe when
nice.
I'm dead, huh?
I think it's worth a lot now. Can you show us your finished instrument that you've made?
Yeah, this is a jumbo.
Jumbo meaning the body
big
size?
body. It's a
Okay.
big body style. It doesn't look that big with me, but they're one of the better recording guitar body sounds. And this is mahogany, Honduras mahogany, with a Sitka spruce top on it. It's got a rosewood fingerboard and a rosewood bridge.
So you use different kinds of wood. Is there a purpose for that? Is it to achieve
I
the...
mean, some people, they only want one kind of wood. They're only interested in the sound of the guitar. They could really care less what it looks like. As a builder, you care what it looks like, too. So you try and figure out what kind of sound they want, and then, you know, build the guitar around that according to what they're looking for. Some people like maple, which we just bent that side, and that gives it a whole different sound, a whole different look. And,
Really?
you know, some people want rosewood.
Oh, that's just neat. That is absolutely beautiful. And then what is the purpose of this? Is this also...
Just to keep you from dinging it, because you'll scratch it when you play it. And,
Oh, wow. Oh, that is something else. Now, tell us a little bit about the handle. Is it referred to as
The
a handle?
neck.
Neck.
They're almost exclusively made out of mahogany, walnut, or maple. Mahogany usually, but we'll always put a dovetail joint on the end of these, which is it's an incredible strong joint. You know, all your production guitars nowadays, most of the overseas ones, they all come, they're bolted on. You know, and that just doesn't do it. This is like old furniture style.
I sort of say, it seems like that would affect the sound of it, having the bolt in it.
Yeah, how tight this fits in that guitar neck, it makes all the difference in the world on the sound.
Oh, wow.
So when we press a neck into a body, it's almost so tight that it's not going to come out, you know.
Wow, and you don't have to affix that any other
Yeah, I
way?
glue it,
Okay,
but it should fit that tight regardless.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Oh, that's neat. So this is how you take just a block of wood, and then you carve out the way that you want the neck to come.
Right.
Now, is this a standard neck, or do you
No,
find
they're
that folks-
different. They're all different. You can see this one's, that's got a rounded volute, and this has a little knob in it. You
That's
know, and it's
beautiful.
just the customer choice. It's
Now,
just-
where do you get your design ideas? Do you just come up with them? Or?
No, these are, you know, guitar necks are traditionally, you got to use a certain, you know, you're stuck in a certain area. As far as this goes, you can
Not
change.
much leeway.
Right.
Okay.
Peg heads you can change, you know. Pearl, you can add so much pearl it's almost gaudy, you know.
Yeah.
And
And I don't know. See, I've never seen too much pearl. Not in one place, anyway. All right, so you get the wood and you carve the neck out, and then you put the, drill these, I assume, in. And then this is also something, now that feels like that's wood too. Did you
yeah,
make
that's
that as well?
ebony.
Ebony.
That's Madagascar ebony. It's as hard as it comes, so it can take a lot of finger abuse.
Now, is that this right here?
And there are always different scale lengths. All these are mathematically set up to make this all matched, and that's how you get your sound out of it.
So you're pretty good at math then, I guess.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm terrible at math. Somebody figured this out long before I was alive.
That's good then. So I guess then you have to plane this down or carve it down.
Yeah, I'll hand sand it down, and we'll get it to where it's this stage. We'll fix it to the body, and then we'll final sand the whole thing down to, we'll start with 100 grit, and we'll go all the way down to 400 grit. And
Wow.
We'll get it to where
smoother,
right.
to get it as smooth as it can be. I'm telling you, is this one finished as far as your sanding goes?
Yeah, rough sanding. It's not completely sanded ready for finish yet, but it's not too far from it.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is just as smooth as that can be.
And it needs to be.
Well, obviously, so you don't get splinters and.
It's just easier on your playing. You know, it's a lot easier to slide your hand up and down.
That does make perfect sense. Very much so.
We use nitrocellulose lacquer. They've used it for years. A lot of places now use plastic, which is polyurethane. I don't. I've always used nitrocellulose lacquer. It's a process that you gotta stain it, fill it, spray it, sand it off, spray it, sand it off, spray it. It's about a 3 or 4 week process for each instrument.
Just to
Put a finish on
put a
there.
finish on it. Now, how do you decide what colors and whatnot? Will this remain a black color?
Yeah, that will always remain black. We can put a little bit of toner in it, and you know where it's darker around the edges than you know in certain spots. But the darker woods pretty much got your pigeonholed into keeping them dark, unless you want to paint it. And I don't like just painting over the wood. I think the grain is everything. So.
That, in my opinion, would be a shame to do that because the wood is so gorgeous. Now, what do you, the silver things, you can tell I don't know much
tuners.
about them. The tuners, you install all of that.
And you can spend as much as you want on those things, starting from $50 to $500.
Wow.
And all that stuff makes a difference to some people, and you know, so.
And then your strings, you install those. So
Do the
you do
strings.
absolutely everything from
Right.
start to finish. I do love the finish on that, though. How did you say you actually achieve the darker and the lighter?
Well, you have to put toner in there, so you'll spray it just like you would a furniture, but around the edges you can darken it up to give it character. Otherwise, if you just paint it with one color, sometimes they just don't. It doesn't stick out. It just kind of looks like a plain instrument, and with a little bit of color in the right spots, it really makes a difference. Especially on maple, when maple gets painted, it does a whole different thing. You can see it just, you can see the curl in it, where it just, the curl just gets incredible when it gets.
That is outstanding.
A
And so
finish.
that's kind of what it looks like when it gets the finish on it, and it
Yeah.
kind of takes that color on. So then after you get everything all assembled, you get all your sanding. Is the sanding, would you say that that's a big, huge part of your...
Yeah, that's the worst part, because it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere.
Yeah,
And,
you have to sand and sand and sand.
right.
That's something else. So you spend a lot of your days sanding.
But it makes a whole big difference in the way the guitar turns out. And of course you have to sand it to where you like the sound of it. And that thickness of that top makes a big difference. So you get,
That is really neat. Now, if we would like for you to make us a guitar, where do we get in touch with you? Do
You
you
can
have a
go
website?
on. Yes, you can go online, www.shortmountainguitars.com, and you can come by the shop there. I'd rather have somebody come by and see what we do, and then they may figure out what they want, or if that's even the way they want to go, and we just go from there. It's to make something for somebody is a really incredible feeling, but for somebody to make something for one of their family members or something that they want to keep the rest of their life, we can dive right into it, and they'll have something that'll last them for generations.
Oh,
And,
wow. Which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to preserve
that's what we're
the
trying
old
to do,
ways.
right.
Oh, that is just fantastic. I absolutely love this. Well, you'll have to find us next time we see you. You'll have to have a picker with you so we can hear how that goes.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe a little Jimmy or somebody can come down
That
with
would
you.
be nice, wouldn't it? That would be
now,
nice.
do you have any of the pictures of your guitars on your website?
Yes,
with
I
some
do.
Of the
Yeah,
folks who have them?
Right, and we've got a lot of the production ones that I've done and some of the custom instruments, and they're all on the website too. So.
All right. Once again, give us that address.
It's www.shortmountainguitars.com.
Great. That is fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, Short Mountain is certainly very lucky to have you guys.
Well,
How long have y'all been there?
we moved down here in '92.
92.
Yeah, I used to work up in Michigan car companies, and told my wife if we ever got laid off, we're coming south.
Heading
so
south.
We did.
That's the popular trend, and you can certainly see why.
Yeah, yeah.
Love the South. Well, that is fantastic. Well, I certainly do appreciate you guys coming down here today.
Well, we're glad to be here.
It has really been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing some more of your stuff. Absolutely gorgeous. Thanks again for coming down. This is great. Well, that looks like that's going to be our show for today. Don't forget that you can find us on Facebook. We'd like for you to go on there and like us at HandMade Tennessee. And also, if you'd love to send us an email, you can send us an email at handmade10@bltv.net. Very special thanks to our great guest today, Doug Spencer. Thank you so much
Thank
from
you.
Short Mountain Guitars. I'm Kimberly Vance, and I hope you've been inspired to create your own Handmade Tennessee. If you enjoyed today's show, check us out on Facebook for other shows and information at www.facebook.com/HandmadeTennessee. You can also email us your comments or suggestions to handmadetn@bltv.net.